because they know they can manipulate and take advantage of the senior. And that's where if you work with a realtor and you can get them in whatever it is you're doing, they can help you navigate that mass field of real estate and paperwork and this, that, and the other, and help you get the most for your property and make sure that you're protected from that type of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely an advantage for using a realtor if you're in a senior.
Hello, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, your reverse mortgage expert, and you found the Serving Senior podcast, where we highlight businesses and professionals that help seniors survive, not just survive, but thrive in retirement. And today we have one of those awesome people. We have Mr. Brent Ward. He's the CEO of Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors. He's going to share with us how realtors can be a solution to those retirement challenges seniors are having today. Brent, how are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. How about you?
Yeah, doing great, man. Doing great. How's life treating you?
I can't complain. Weather's good, and just school's back in. So, not that I mind my kids being at home, but it's nice to get back into a routine again.
I've noticed, man, it's been crazy. Every meeting I go to, all the parents are smiling and they've got their free babysitters back, man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I got one that's going to be a senior this year, and one that just moved into middle school. So,
Okay.
two big times for two kids. So, yep.
Yes, sir. Well, Brent, thank you for jumping on here today. I wanted to have you on because we've worked on some classes together and we talked about real estate matched with a retirement. And I thought of no one better to kind of share with the audience how it works and, what realtors really do. They don't just sell houses, right? They solve problems.
That's right.
And it's how realtors can be involved with solving that retirement problem and retirement challenge that's going on out there. But before we do that, maybe just give us some background. I think you've been in real estate for a long time. Tell us where you're from and how you got into becoming the
Yeah.
CEO.
So I've been in the real estate industry for 28 years.
Wow.
I started out just like every other real estate agent does, going through classes and learning. I did have one little bit of an advantage. Both my parents were both real estate agents, so I kind of
Oh, nice.
snuck
Okay.
in under them and started working with them and trained with really my father more so than my mother, because my mother couldn't wait for me to get up to speed so she could get out. She had done it long enough and decided she was done. She liked flipping houses and doing that kind of stuff. That
Nice.
was kind of her niche. But yeah, so 28 years and broker, and then I ended up brokering our own office, and I became an instructor for the state of Tennessee for continuing education, and got involved at the association office. It was on slate to be president of the association the same year that I took over this position, but I've been doing this now for 11 years
Okay.
as the CEO here at CWTAR. And really couldn't ask for a better position for me that fits my personality personally, for what I do and what I like to do, working with the agents and
Nice.
keeping them up to speed. And I like to see them succeed. There's business out there for everybody, as we kind of
Yep.
talked about right before we jumped on about this being $1 trillion a year industry, the real estate industry, with everybody that's involved. I mean, there's a slice of pie for everybody. You just got to go find it.
You're exactly right. And you even find time to work into a radio show that I've been lucky enough to be a guest on with you and Mr. Jimmy. So
That's right. I do that every Monday afternoon, 101.5 FM, and talk in West Tennessee. And I love doing that as well too. I'm hopefully I can do it all the way up until I retire, and maybe they can find a spot for me at the radio show, so I still have something to do.
there you go. Yeah, when I visited you guys, I didn't really call it work. You guys were having way too much fun to be working that day.
Radio is fun, but it's one of the, as I understand from everybody I've talked to, it doesn't pay a whole lot, but it is a lot of fun and meet a lot of people, and you kind of get, controlled content of what your show is. And so anyway, so yeah, I would love to be able to do that, when I get to that point. And I know they tried to get me to go ahead and come in early, but I like what I'm doing here right now, and I'm not ready to go, even though it's tempting, but I'm good. We'll just keep
Yeah.
moving on. I like the Monday show. I'm good.
Well, you're good at it. So keep the door open, right?
That's right. Yes, I'm trying my best.
Yeah, that's great. So, well, I know we talked about challenges with seniors and real estate and moving. So maybe if you could give us, your expert opinion on how realtors can be a solution for the challenges that seniors have in today's world.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to start off with the probably the one that jumps to the front of my mind is the number of scammers that are out there right now that seniors are their primary targets.
Wow.
They go after them with everything they got. And of course, there's a good reason for that because they know seniors have equity in their homes. They've got the money, they've got the stuff. And, but there's so many that are targeted to homeowners, title scams and, you're behind on your mortgage or you're behind on your insurance or whatever. And they're constantly being scammed. And then you've got the local scammers that are, going to buy your house fast for cash, but they're
Right.
only willing to give you about 50% of what the house is actually worth. But,
Yeah.
as a senior and you haven't been in the market in a while, like you might not know that the housing has changed. I know in our market area, it was like our housing changed overnight. We're in the West Tennessee area. Tennessee's divided into 3 grand divisions, and we're in the West Tennessee. But Middle and East Tennessee have been growing, and prices have been going up, and West Tennessee we never caught up. And then after 2020, all of a sudden, West Tennessee only took 2 years to catch up to the Middle and East Tennessee. So it literally looked like our housing prices changed overnight. It's just we were like 10 years behind on catching up to the rest of the market. And so if you haven't been, if you haven't been watching the market and you didn't know things have changed, your house you bought 35, 40 years ago for $100,000, you might not know it's worth $250,000 now these days.
Yeah.
And so if somebody comes along and offers you 150, well, that sounds great. Sure, I'll be more than happy to take 150. Except for one slight problem. It's not worth 150. It's worth, 250.
Yeah.
So, and that's where realtors really come in. And I do talk about this on my radio show a lot about, if you get a postcard, you get something in the mail. And like I said, and I've got a mother who's a senior and she lives by herself. And so I know because she calls me, even though she used to be a real estate agent, she calls me and she's just like, I got this postcard. I got this, I got that. I got this phone call today. And I was like, ignore every single one of them or give them my name. Usually when she mentions that I'm in the real estate industry, they're pretty much done with the conversation. And there's a reason for that because they don't want real estate agents to be involved in a transaction where there's a senior involved because they know they can manipulate and take advantage of the senior. And that's where if you work with a realtor and you can get them into whatever it is you're doing, they can help you navigate that mass field of real estate and paperwork and this, that, and the other, and help you get the most for your property and make sure that you're protected from that type of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely an advantage for using a realtor if you're in the senior. My dad was big on that.
Wow.
He had a whole program, kind of like what you and I talked about, that I feel like you probably do, that had insurance and closing attorneys and title insurance companies and people that did the will and financial planning and all that kind of good stuff that I remember he and I met with, and we created this, he called it Silver Service, and real estate was a part of it. And he had everything in one package. And he called it the Silver Service package, probably long before NAR came out with designations for this type of stuff.
Okay.
And he worked with a lot of seniors, and he'd be like, I can help you with the real estate side of it, but here's a long list of people that can help you with your financial planning, your estate planning, and all that kind of stuff to go along with it. So,
Wow. Yeah, very well said. So yeah, that definitely be one big thing. Help seniors alleviate scams, underselling their property, falling for this, falling for that. I mean, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. Tell me a little bit more about what about just on traditional real estate? Should seniors stay in place? Should seniors move? What do you see?
I think that depends on each person's situation. Everybody is different when it comes to things like that. So I'll give you some different scenarios on that. So when my grandmother became a senior and she was going through that and my parents were helping her with it, she did move out of the property that she had been living in for a long time and then moved into a smaller house. And she adapted to it pretty well because it was a smaller house and had its own little garage, and she no longer had to park behind the building where she used to live. She used to own a quad, and she lived in one of the 4 apartments of the quad. But it had stairs. You had to, like 6 stairs you had to go up to get in. And this little house that my parents found for her, which was probably less than a mile away from where she was currently living. So she was still in the same, neighborhood, same community that she'd always had always lived in, but just a smaller house. And it worked out great for her. So, now in my mother's case, like it's kind of one of those, my brother and I talk about it all the time with my mother. Her house is 2,600 square foot and it's just her and a 3-car garage. And, but she doesn't really want to leave, even though she only lives in 2 rooms, and she's not at the point where we've got to make her go anywhere or do anything, even though she should. But, with the market the way it is now, finding her another spot, it's a little bit more difficult than it used to be in the
Mhm.
past.
Yeah.
And so, that's another thing to take in. So I think everybody is different and you have to look at every situation different and you got to figure out what works best for you and your family members. And when it comes to real estate agents, I think they have that conversation with senior sellers. I know I used to, I would question, why are they selling? What are their plans once they sell the property? You'd be surprised at the number of seniors that really don't have much of a plan when they're
Mhm.
thinking about selling. They just know the house they're living in is too big.
Okay.
And then when you say, well, what are your plans once you sell it? And they're just like, well, I don't know. I guess I might try to find another house. And I'm like, kind of might, let's think about that now before you
Right.
put your house on the market. And then we're not rushing around here later, or you end up accidentally becoming homeless. That would be horrible.
Yeah.
While you're trying to find what to do. A lot of times they move in with family members, children, brothers and sisters in laws, whatever, that are taking them in, or they might be moving into a retirement home or something like that. Well, that's fine. You got all that stuff covered and your bases are covered and you know where you're going. But that's another one of those areas where realtors can really step in and maybe ask the questions that as a senior you haven't asked yourself already to make sure that, there's a game plan here. Something is going on.
Yeah. That completely makes sense. Great points. Yeah. I saw a statistic that said that 88% of all seniors, they want to age in place,
Hmm.
but at least 1 in 3 of them want to age in place somewhere else. Right. So they want to
Right.
own their house, have their own house, but it may be the grandkids that moved out of state, so they want to follow the grandkids, or maybe just the house doesn't fit their needs.
Right.
So there is a lot of movement in seniors going on right now. But you are correct. Every situation is a little bit different, and realtors are awesome at just sitting down, getting to know the pros, teaching them the pros and cons, and helping them make a good decision.
Yes, NAR has created designations, and I cannot for the life of me think of what senior real estate specialist. It just came to me right there. SRS. So the National Association of Realtors has a designation that agents can get, and we've had that class here, and it's the SRS, Senior Real Estate Specialist, that really teaches agents how to handle and work with and understand what everybody's going through and reaching out, kind of like what I was telling you, the thing my dad put together before SRS was even a thing, and having those attorneys and people that can help them with their financial planning and their estate planning and all that kind of good stuff, so that you're a part of what it is they're doing. And so, that's one thing. If a senior contacted me, I'd just say you need to find an agent that has that SRS designation. And if you know anything about realtors, we love all those little letters
There
after.
you go. That's right. That's
But
right.
most people don't know what those things mean. As
Right.
realtors, we know, but as the general public, they don't know. But if you ever see a realtor that has SRS after their name, that's a senior residential specialist, and they've been taught on the things to do and things to look out for and how to help you as you transition into something different, if that's what
Okay.
ends up happening.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's a great point. And then Brent, we did see some figures that there was actually more purchases actually in 2024 from people 60 and older
Hmm.
than were 40 and under. Just some crazy statistics, because usually first time home buyers are the largest part of the market. So that's an interesting change from what we've seen in the past. Maybe could you explain why you think that is, but also to how realtors, if they're watching this, could focus on those 60 plus and grab a larger percentage of the market as well.
Well, we'll start with the first time home buyers. The reason why you're not seeing them so high is because they can't find a home right now with interest rates being where they are.
Okay.
A lot of your first time home buyers are just really having a hard time getting qualified to
Mhm.
purchase a property. And what they can get qualified to buy doesn't exist.
Got
Um, Unfortunately, the reality is that's just the way that it is.
it. Mhm.
When I bought my first house many years ago, we paid $75,000 for a brand new construction house. I mean, it was brand spanking new.
Wow.
Bedrooms, 2 baths, no garage, vinyl sided, brand new neighborhood,
Now
$75,000.
that's called a car. Those are
I was just getting ready to say, I mean, you can barely buy a car for $75,000 now these days.
yeah.
So yeah, so $75,000, and then it just seems like just not too long ago that the average price for a house was $100,000 or 109. I don't know. That number sticks in my mind. I can remember when it was $109,000.
Wow.
And and in our market, that was in our market area. In our market area now, the average price of a house is $223,000.
Wow.
So, but it just seems like not too long ago it was 109, even though that was probably 15 years ago. But that's one of the reasons why you're not seeing the first time home buyers really dominate the market is they just can't get approved. Now the reason why you're probably seeing the 60 plus there you were talking about, I would say is they've kind of been sheltering in place at home after what happened in 2020,
Right.
and everything kind of just stopped. And they were afraid to do anything, afraid to go out, afraid to go anywhere, afraid to do anything. But I think they're finally starting to come around, and a lot of people are finally deciding, okay, I think it's time for me to try to find something else. And I know if your listeners probably aren't, but as far as realtors go, everybody's familiar with Lawrence Yun, who was the economic forecaster for the National Association of Realtors. He's on CNN, Fox News, CBS all the time. But I remember when we were having a housing shortage there for a little while. You probably remember that wasn't
Yeah.
that long ago that we were running out of houses, and we're still not out of the dark yet. So don't get me wrong. But when we were really having a shortage, he said a big reason why we were having such a housing shortage is the people that typically move out of the larger houses, which open them up for those second time home buyers
Mhm.
to move in with their families. They're not moving. They've chosen to shelter in place. They're not going anywhere. They're staying right here. This place is paid for. It's way bigger than what I need, but I don't have to worry about it because I already own it and I'm already here. And they were not moving.
Wow.
And of course, when it comes to new construction, you can only build them as fast as you can build them. There's not a
Yeah.
magic way to build them faster than what you're currently doing. So I think that has a big play on why you see that market area, the senior market, go up as far as buyers because they're selling their houses and now looking for something else. And your smaller, your first time home buyers is so much smaller now.
Okay. Yeah, that completely makes sense. Yeah. And a lot of the seniors, since they have so much equity, they're able to sell and then they may have a small mortgage or no mortgage at all. First time
Mhm.
home buyers are having to borrow the whole thing with zero down loans, et cetera. And they're really the high interest rates are really crushing those guys, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you for describing that for us, sharing us a little background. And then the other thing that I know we've worked on together is the reverse mortgage for purchase class. How do you see that with the seniors moving and helping them move? How would that tie in to that, you think?
Well, that's funny. And I'll be honest, you and I've had this conversation, but up until you came and had that class that I sat in on and then talked about it on the radio, I only knew little small bits and pieces about reverse mortgages because I couldn't get anybody local to ever talk about it because nobody local actually did anything with reverse mortgages. It wasn't until one of our local banks who's partnered with you reached out to us and says, "Hey, I got a guy," and that's how we kind of got connected. And I learned a lot about the reverse mortgage. Now I know it now. Who's to say when I get to be my mother's age, am I going to remember all that whole time? But I can tell you, if I went in and tried to talk to my mother about that, I don't know that she would listen to me. But on the flip side of that, it made me really start thinking about when I got to that certain age, where reverse mortgage would apply to me at that point in time because it's based on age. How I could use a reverse mortgage to do all kinds of stuff, but that really depends, I guess, on what kind of life you want to leave and what you're planning on leaving. You know, for your children or grandchildren or whatever. I hear people all the time talking about leaving their legacy, but you know, have you really thought about what you're leaving them? And do they want it? And this may be off topic just a little bit, but I was talking to a local closing attorney when I was sitting down talking to him about my mother's estate. And he was telling me that a lot of time people don't think, and the example he gave was there was a lady who owned hundreds of acres of land, right? And she didn't have any children, right? And so she wanted to leave it to her nieces and nephews, except for, but in that estate planning, she wanted to make sure that she left it to them. They were not allowed to sell it.
Mhm.
Okay. Now in her mind, that was like the greatest gift ever because she's leaving them this hundreds of acres of land that they will own and can pass down that can never be sold. And he had to tell her and make her and try to make her understand. He said he wasn't for sure he could make her understand is that that would be the biggest burden that she would ever put on them in their entire lives, because neither one of the nieces and nephews really wanted anything to do with the land.
Wow.
And she was just like, but it's such a gift. And he's like, it was a gift for you. For them, it's going to be a burden, because they're going to be saddled with this land that they can't sell, that they've got to take care of and pay taxes on and insurance on. And what kind of benefits are they getting out of it?
Yeah.
That's those type of things that I think sometimes when you hear people talk about leaving their legacy and leaving their land, have you had this conversation with those heirs to your estate? Do you want this house? Do you want this land? Do you want this house full of furniture? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Do you want the 5 cars I've got parked out? And I mean, do you, these are just questions
Right.
that you need to have, right? And and so, but with the reverse mortgage, it allowed a senior that maybe has everything tied up in their house, in their equity, in their home, to be able to free up some of those funds. When my father was still alive, he passed away a few years ago, but when he was in the VA hospital, that just kept going up and up and up. I mean, we all know that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You got to care like that just keeps going up, and it's so expensive. My mother would panic about it, and I would just simply say, well, look, I know there's an option out there for you to do a reverse mortgage that could help with those costs if it came to that, if that's what you ended up having to do. She had a small HELOC on the house, and she'd used a little bit of it, but not much. And we never got to that point, and she's not where she needs the reverse mortgage. But I could definitely see where some people could. And for me, I don't think I could actually re-explain it. I don't think much. I went home and tried to explain it to my wife,
Yeah.
how it all worked. But yeah, I think getting it in front of people and getting them to understand. I think you opened a lot of people's eyes that day during the class,
Yeah.
because they only know what they see or hear. And as you pointed out, a lot of laws have changed also since
Yeah.
the more reverse mortgage hit the market. And look, in every business, every whatever, there's bad actors, right? All the time.
Yeah.
And you just got to get past those bad actors and get to what the truth and the reality is. And does it fit what you need? And like we just said, everything's different. Every
Yeah.
situation is different. So hopefully
Yeah.
that
No.
kind of answered your question. I was
Yeah.
kind of all around the world there, but
Great point. Yeah. And I think just a great example. We're working on one now where the lady has $200,000 in equity in her home. She found a $230,000 condo. The challenge is she'd have to borrow a little bit of money. She's only making a few $1,000s a month. And really what their idea was, what if they could sell this big house? It's worth 600 and something thousand, but she has a decent sized loan. What if they could sell that? Because right now she's got the 200,000 equities locked up in the house.
mhm.
She's up in her 90s, still really good shape, up in her 90s, so she can actually borrow like 60% of the value. So we're selling the home, she's clearing 200, but she's only going to put down like 70,000. So she's going to have 130,000 liquid that she can use. So they're going to be able to hire folks, in-home care, have people come help her, free up some money. So now they have a real estate asset that's not doing her any good. It's really dragging her down, so expensive that she's going to have a home with a small reverse mortgage that she doesn't have to make a payment on, but have all this liquidity.
Right.
And by the way, that's the realtor's got 2 transactions out of a situation where they normally would. It's a normal situation where most people go, the numbers don't work. But because we can introduce this one tool, it helps the client. They have a better retirement, and it helps the realtor keep the real estate market moving.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's one little piece I didn't add. It's kind of jumps into that because um, and it's another one of these conversation things. If if as a senior, if your kids are successful and a little bit older, like at my age, I'm 55. Um, you know, if my mom passed away and she left us the house and a bunch of money and a car or whatever, even though she doesn't have a bunch of money, but if she did,
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great. But do I need that stuff? I would much rather see my mother use her stuff that she's worked for, her and my dad worked for their whole entire life to help her live the life that she wants up until she's not living it anymore, rather than just, you know, not being able to do anything that she wants to do because she wants to leave all this stuff for me. I mean, I'd
Right.
rather her use it instead of handing it down to me.
Yeah.
And my brother feels the same way. So I think that's another one of those conversations. But from a real estate agent standpoint, I remember you talking about stories like that where, if you had the reverse mortgage as a tool in your tool belt to offer to seniors, be like, well, there's another option here. Have we gone down this road? And if not, let's pick up the phone, call Matt, and have him run the numbers and see what we're looking at here, because there might be a way to do what it is you want to do, and utilize your equity you have in your house now up front. Yeah.
Definitely some options. That's great. Well, anything, Brent, I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So I'm sure the minute that this conversation is over, I'll be like, oh, I probably should have brought
Hey, that's okay. Well, I just appreciate what you do and how you pour into the real estate community and how you've been so welcoming to me. I just want to say thank you and thanks for being on here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And thank you for watching the Serving Senior podcast, where I highlight these fantastic people like Brent that help seniors thrive in retirement. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next episode. Talk to you soon. Hey, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, home of retirement mortgage solutions. And we really do appreciate you checking out the Serving Seniors podcast today. Now, please go to the description down in the body of the podcast where you can subscribe to get future shows. Please click that notification button so you get notified when other shows drop. And also, if you can go to servingseniourspodcast.com, and we'd love to hear a comment about our show. We have a heart to serve seniors, and we have a heart to make sure seniors don't just survive retirement, don't just get by in retirement. We want to show seniors how to thrive in retirement. So if you know of anyone that's 55 and older that could use some extra cash flow, maybe the retirement's not going the way that they'd like, our retirement mortgage solutions are designed for folks, and depending on the state, they're either 55 or 62 and older, to make sure that they have that kind of retirement that they want. As long as they own a home and they're in a good equity position, there could be some solutions that they may not have thought about, or maybe they've thought of and they just didn't know how they work. That's what we do. So anyone in that age group that could use some mortgage advice, my team and I would love to be able to help them. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a great day.